Hey Mystery Detectives, this is Kristen and I've got clue number 2 from Cotton Cut's Puzzle Mystery Quilt Fall Edition for 2018, and I hope y'all are as excited as I am. I am Team Foxtrot, so that means I've got Moda's Well Said line as my fabrics for this, and I just love the colors and I love seeing how everything's coming together. So what you're going to get inside of your package this month is, obviously we're going to get the directions for what we should have inside. So we have a couple different sizes of triangles and a couple different sizes of rectangles, and they all come pre-cut, ready for you to sew together. So there's literally no cutting. You pin, you sew, you press, you're done. It's awesome. And then it also is helpful. It tells you how to get a scant 1/4 inch seam. So if you're not good about it, it's a great way to practice, or you can just cheat like I do and mark your 1/4 inch seam and sew on that. But you have this. You also get a, I've got broken dishes this month. You get a card. So this month, Debbie and Kim sent us a little note, and it says that they're really happy to see all of our pictures and things on the Facebook group, and they wanted to thank us for our patience and for, well, during their oops of last month where they were having issues with the sizing of, was it the ballroom colorway? But 1 or 2 of the colorways had some issues that they were working through, and let me tell you guys, they were great. Anytime somebody was like, oh my gosh, I've got the wrong size, I don't have the right number of pieces, you know, Cotton Cuts immediately was like, okay, cool, I'm gonna fix that, and sent replacement parts, which is phenomenal. So great customer service, and then they sent us a little note and a free pattern, which for me is a casserole cozy or carrier. So that was really fun, and I really appreciated that. So what we are going to make this month, like I said, it's triangles and rectangles, and we're going to make a bunch of flying geese. So you are going to make 2 of these sections, and that is what we're making this month. So last month we made another, if you're in the small group like I am, another nice stretch of a rectangle with squares instead of flying geese, and then this month we have the geese. So I'm going to be putting that together for anybody that wants to watch the video. You can keep watching after I finish up this little intro section, and we'll sew along together. But before I get there, I've got a couple of things. Last month I said, hey, if you guys give me a tip or trick, I would love to, you know, pick one and give a shout out to that person. So this comes from Teresa McBrayer, and she says a tip that she's learned on borders and strips, which we do have, you know, little 6-inch short ones that we can try, is she finds the center pin both ends, and then pin back and forth on each side until she has all the pins that she wants in the strips, and that avoids waves. So thank you, Teresa. I'm going to definitely try that next time I have a nice long strip to put on, and if you have a really awesome tip or trick, definitely comment below, and I might pick yours to read off next month. I also got a question which it's good to think about. It says, what color thread are you using? This comes from Linda Lovely, and for me, I like to use like cream, like a really light cream, or I know some people use gray, just some sort of neutral. Really, you're not gonna, if you press right, you're not gonna see your seams, you're not gonna see the threads, but I still like using kind of one of those more neutral tones. So there is that. Alright, last thing before I get going on the sewing is I am running a giveaway on my Instagram page, so you go check that out, and part of getting into that giveaway is signing up to subscribe. So if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, definitely do that now, and even if you don't want to get into the giveaway, subscribe, hit the notification button so you can see every time I put up a new video, like these Cotton Cuts Puzzle Mystery Quilts or my subscription boxes. You can check those out. And then if you like the video, give me a thumbs up. As always, I love to hear from you guys, so definitely leave me a comment, question, concern. If you got tips or tricks, put that down there, and I think that's it. So if y'all want to sew along with me, we're gonna get started. If not, thanks for watching and have a wonderful, wonderful month of September. Thanks, guys. Alright, so I'm here at my sewing table, and I've got number one of our directions is to take one of your fabric triangles, your little ones, your fabric 3, which in my case is this pretty blue, and you're going to attach it to one of those flying geese that I showed you earlier. So I've got a couple done already, so I'm just going to show you one or two of these. So this is going to be my fabric. Got everything all over the place over here, sorry guys. So I'm going to attach it to fabric number 5. And I'm going to attach one on each side. And remember last month I told you I like making little marks along the side for my nice 1/4 inch. And that seems to be working out well for me. So one thing you can do, I found these cool Fons and Potter little Omnigrid rulers, which are really made for half square triangles, but it works the same here. I can put it on my thing and then measure across, and I know without having to look on a ruler and measure that it's actually a 1/4 inch. So that's one suggestion. So what you're going to do is you're going to take these and go right sides together. So remember, that's going to be pretty sides together. So I'm going to line it up. And don't forget, you want your geese flying. So this nose, that's the geese tip. That's going to be what you want flying forward. So your sky, sorry, that was kind of hard to see. Your sky squares are going to be on these two sides here, okay? So what I like to do is, since we've got those nice edges cut off, is I like to try to line up these two pieces right here so that it's not one over the other, but just perfectly covered. So I'm going to do that, and as I'm doing that, I'm going to find the middle, which for me, I like finding the middle and then pinning. And I know I told you guys last week or last month, I pin like crazy, and that way things don't move. And for me, we've got a bias edge with this, which means that your grain, the fabric grain, is stretchy versus you do this and it doesn't stretch as much. So when you have a stretchy grain, it's going to be easier to stretch your fabric out of position and to cause some unintended, you know, adjustments to what you're making. So I like to do extra pins. Another thing you can do is use your walking foot, because that's going to have a bit more of an even feeding, because you have the feed dogs going this way and then you got the walking foot, which is also pulling. So I guess it's this way, but you know what I'm saying. Awkward hand motions aside, that's also a good option. And I'm not sure where I heard this, but I've been told that when you're working with biases, you can also decrease your stitch length. So I usually work at a 2.5. I could decrease it down to 2. I haven't tried that. So if you've tried that, let me know how that works, or if you find it doesn't work. Like I said, this is something that I was told as an aside. So, all right, we're gonna get started. Again, this purple, I found the white was really hard to see last time. So this is my, my leader that kind of helps my stitches get started without eating into my pretty fabric. So I'm going to hold on to the tails of my thread, and I've already got it set onto my leader here. I'm going to give it a couple stitches, Give it a couple stitches off your fabric so that you have something to cut. And then for me, again, I line that lovely stitch line that I made up exactly where I want it, and I stitch directly on that line. Depending on how quick you quilt or sew rather, you know, this might take a while. You might be able to get through it a lot quicker than me. I usually either slow down or stop entirely, make sure I get those pins out. Because it is possible to break a pin or break a needle, and then I just don't want to take the chance that it's going to pull at my fabric. You know, this fabric's super pretty, I love it, and I really don't want it to get chewed up by the machine. As an aside, I find that sewing through this fabric is like butter. It's wonderful. So if you have this Moda line, the Foxtrot, I bet you guys are, oof, that was a little quick. Bet you're enjoying it just as much as I am. So, gonna cut, get my handy dandy little snips. This is really the only time you're gonna have to cut anything, which is one thing I really like about this program. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to my pressing mat and press. I tried this, showing you this last month, and the file got corrupted, so I had to omit it. So I apologize, but we're gonna try it again. So, okay, so I've got my half flying goose together. We've got the pretty sides, the right sides together, and now I'm gonna bring it over to my makeshift pressing mat. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make sure first that my iron is set to cotton, which it is, and then I'm just gonna press right over where the seam is, and then gently roll it back. So remember, we're working with bias edges, so we don't want to put too much force on it, because you really don't want to see your stitching after you're done with this. So again, just gently and then press. We're not going back and forth and back and forth. We're not ironing, we're pressing, which is just what it sounds like. You don't have to press from both sides, I just do, it's a habit. And then we have a nice flat block. So I'm going to do that to both, and then we're going to go back to the sewing machine, and I'm going to put the other goose side on, the other sky block, and then when I get both of those together, I'll show you the next step. Okay, so I've got my 2 flying geese completed, and now the directions say that I need to take one of these 2" by 6.5" strips, and I am going to sew it to the bottom. So I'm going to find where my lovely little 1/4" marking is and take that, and you're going to match it up to the goose. So remember, this is the goose, these are the sky squares. So the bottom of the goose is where I'm going to attach these strips. Same thing as always, you're going to do pretty sides together, right sides together as the directions say. And then pin, pin, pin. I have a habit of putting one pin in the middle and then pinning out from there. But you can definitely do it the other way that was mentioned earlier, where you find the middle and then you pin it on the ends and then kind of pin it in from there. So it all depends on what you feel like doing. I'm throwing my pins around. So there we go, that's one, and I'm going to do one more. Okay, I've got both sets pinned together. Now, just like everything else, we're going to get that leader underneath my machine, put the presser foot down, hold the ends of my thread again, because if you don't, what happens is, what just happened to me because I didn't hold it well enough. My thread is missing. So what I like to do, instead of just bringing the one piece back, I like to rethread my entire machine, and that way I know that the tension didn't get screwed up somewhere. And more often than not, that works for me. And I am really lucky I have that little threader machine, or threader piece on my machine. That really helps. So, let's try this again. Alright. Didn't lose my thread that time. So I'm just gonna run through these, and I'll press them, and I'll show you that part since it's gonna look slightly different than the geese. And then we'll move on to the next piece. Okay, so I've got my strip all sewn down to my goose. So just like before, hold it for a couple seconds and then gently roll it back. Again, we don't want to push, we don't want to go back and forth like we're actually ironing, we just want to press. And that's the biggest thing. If I can get you to do anything, it's just press. Because otherwise, when you pull too far back, you're going to start seeing your stitching in these lines, and it's not pretty. So just make sure you're gentle with it, okay? So let's go back and get these geese sewn together. Okay, so the next part of the directions say that you're going to sew your two geese together, and you're actually going to end up with a row of 4. So what you're going to do is you're going to sew a 5, so the color 5, which in this case is this guy, to a color 4, which is this guy. So make sure 5's on the bottom, flip 4 over, and you're going to want to make sure that the right sides are together, just like we talked about earlier. And it seems, so I'll move this if you want to see what I'm doing. So I forgot to make my mark. So I'm just going to show you how I do it real quick. I just kind of line this up and then take my pencil, or you can do it with you know, a pen or whatever you like to do. Just be careful when you're doing it so that you're not pulling the fabric. So now I've got my line, and I'm put one right on top of the other, just like before. Get a pin like crazy, and that just keeps it from shifting around. So I like to make sure that my two sides are nice and evenly matched, and then as always, pin, 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 pin. I think that should be my new motto, is team pin the heck out of my fabrics. Alright, so I've got those together. Let's get you back over here. And I'm going to set up my line just where I want it. I already started my fabric. And I like to lift up my foot just to get that perfect spot. And then just sew your line. So you're going to sew this pair together, and then you are going to sew, I like to do 2x2s, and then I already sewed my other pair together. So you're going to sew this pair to the pair that I'm sewing up right now, and then once we have that, we have one more piece left to put on, and this strip is done. So as you can see, it's actually pretty simple as long as you get the right sides together, which I've already screwed up twice, I think, at least, because I was just so excited to start sewing and not paying attention. So make sure you get the right fabrics together so it ends up pretty. Alright, I'm going to get these pressed, and then I'm going to sew this one to my other one, and then I'll show you once I get that 4 together, and I'll show you how we do that last piece. Alright, detectives, I have all 4 geese pinned together. And I'm going to do the last part of this month's clue. So you're going to take your, what is it, 3.5 by 6.5 inch rectangle, which is color 3, so it's going to match my sky blocks. So you're going to match that up with the top. So make sure, as this bottom already has a smaller piece on it, so you are going to make sure it goes on the top of the goose that doesn't have anything. So make sure that when you're feeding this through, one thing that I keep forgetting to tell you when the camera's actually on is, you know, it's like driving a car to some extent, because you want to just gently, you know, move it around directional wise. You don't want to push the fabric or jerk the fabric like you would, you know, obviously not want to jerk a steering wheel, because that's going to make the car be all wonky. So just make sure when you're doing it that you're gentle. Alright. So I'm going to get this pinned up and sewn, and then I'll show you everything together. Alright, detectives, we are done with this month's. Definitely make sure you measure. It should measure up to 6.5 by 21.5. And again, this is what I just made. Our 4 beautiful flying geese. And this is what we made last month. So I have no idea what this is going to become, but here's my month 2, my month 1, and I'm really excited to see where this takes us. So obviously each month you're going to get a different mix of the fabrics, and you might make, you know, 2, you might make, I don't know, 5 pieces. It all kind of depends, obviously, if you got the large size or the small size and what month it is. So I'm excited to keep on trucking next month. I can't believe I have to wait a whole month. I'm like a little kid, like I don't want to wait. And hopefully y'all found this to be helpful. Questions, comments, concerns, as always, drop me a line. If you've got a tip or a trick, let me know, and I will pick one at random to feature on my video next month. Please, please, please subscribe, tell your friends, hit the little like notification button that's down there and gives me a thumbs up if you like the video. And hopefully you will be sewing along with me next month, or just living vicariously through me if you weren't able to sign up, because as far as I know, the sign-ups for this month, or this fall quilt, is closed because they had so many people. So that's a good thing for Cotton Cuts. Sad if you wanted to join, but there's 2 every year, so you can join the spring one. Alright, until next month, have fun, detectives.